May I publish, Your Honor?
You may. You may.
That's okay, Judge. I'll go ahead and proceed without the element.
All right. Next question.
Do you recall what date this photograph is taken and the occasion?
What is that?
Your Honor, it sounds like an Amber Alert on my phone. This phone's turned off.
All right. Can you take the battery out? I'm sorry for the interruption. I try to maintain better order while people's phones are going off.
The child's getting that for tornadoes coming.
Oh, I understand that, Counselor. I understand what alerts mean, and I understand how to turn things off also. Next question.
It's turned off. Do you recognize the people in that photograph?
Yes.
And who is in that photograph now?
I'm in that photograph, my daughter, Andrea, and Rusty's daughter, and Rusty. And I believe that's her brother.
Okay. And do you recall the occasion?
It was Sophia's birthday.
Sophia's birthday?
Yes.
And what date that would have been?
It was, her birthday is August, yes, but I believe it was around the early September of 2010.
Did you notice any problems or tensions between Rusty and Andrea that day?
No.
Were you able to get in that boat?
I was?
Did you need a life vest to get into that boat?
No.
And where was Andrea during that party?
Andrea was mostly upstairs making the food, getting things prepared, getting the cake ready, entertaining the guests.
No further questions, Judge.
Ms. Cross, you may.
Hold on.
All right, hold. Sorry. Sorry, Mr. Morton. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I forgot one question.
You may ask as many as you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Did you have any plans with Rusty and Andrea after November 18th?
We did.
Okay. What did y'all plan to do?
On November 19th, we had plans to go bowling the next night, or on the 19th.
And did your family issue the invitation, or their family issue the invitation to you, or do you recall?
They had bought a Groupon, and they had invited us to use it with them at the bowling alley.
No further questions. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Ms. Cross, you may cross-examine if you wish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Litman, you testified that you had contact with Andrea Sneiderman all through her time at General Electric. Is that right?
I did.
Okay. You had lots of conversations about her boss. Is that right?
A number.
A number of them? Okay. And the tension in, well, let me ask you this. Did Andrea ever tell you that she had a physical relationship with her boss?
No.
Did she ever tell you that she had a romantic relationship with her boss?
No.
Did she ever tell you that she was conflicted about her feelings for her boss?
No.
Did she ever tell you that she had betrayed Rusty?
No.
Okay. So all those conversations you never had?
No.
Okay. Do you recall the defendant taking a trip to England in September of 2010?
I do.
Did you have conversations with her about the state of her marriage around that time, September 2010?
No.
You don't recall doing that?
We, around September of 2010, about the marriage.
About the marriage. You talked about they had struggles in the marriage when she went back to work.
Now, I might have somebody else take it out. Would you give it to the deputy in the back? Have someone come retrieve this and take this out of here, please? Because we're going to go to plan B. Just take it out. Have someone take it out of my building. I'm sorry for the interruption. I apologize. Go ahead and ask your next question.
Thank you. You talked about the struggle in the Sneiderman's marriage. Is that right? And you described it as typical.
It wasn't, I didn't say in the marriage. I said that Andrea was having with the work-life balance.
Okay. Do you know or did you ever have conversations with Andrea Sneiderman about tension in her marriage?
that she was struggling with how to do motherly duties, wife duties, work duties. Those were the types of struggles that we all have.
Please listen to my question.
Mhm.
Did she talk to you about tension and struggle that she had in her marriage to Rusty?
Yes,
Yes. And did she describe to you tension between her and Rusty in their marital relations?
she did.
She did. Was that on or about the time that she went to England in September of 2010?
It was in October.
In October. Okay, so you knew in October that they were having difficulties between them.
I will say yes, or no, yes.
Yes, you knew in October that they were having difficulties.
That was the time I knew.
Okay. All right, you talked to Mr. Morgan about the day of November 18, 2010. Can I see State's Exhibit number 92, please?
What number? You said 92?
92, Your Honor.
Can they put it up on the screen if you can?
Thank you. And you said during the course of that day that you received a call from Andrea, is that right?
Correct.
Andrea Sneiderman. And Andrea Sneiderman told you that she was on her way to the hospital, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And she told you that Rusty had been shot, is that correct?
Correct.
And she was not yet at the hospital at the time she talked to you and told you that Rusty had been shot, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you remember approximately what time that was?
It was after a meeting I had, so it was after 10:15.
After 10:15?
Correct.
Okay, so after 10:15, sometime after 10:15, you got a call from Andrea saying, I'm on my way to the hospital, Rusty's has been shot, and you dropped everything and went, is that right?
Correct.
Did you make any phone calls?
I did.
Who'd you call?
I called my husband. I called my mother-in-law. I called our friends who knew Rusty and Andrea.
And told them all, Rusty's been shot, oh my God, I'm going to the hospital.
Correct.
I'll let you know when I know more.
Correct. But I had heard of a shooting before that.
Ma'am, listen to my question.
Okay.
Please just answer my question.
Okay.
And do you recall what time it was that you arrived at the hospital?
It was approximately 11,
Okay.
maybe a little bit before.
Maybe a little bit before?
I was speeding.
Had you arrived at the hospital, or were you at the hospital when Andrea Sneiderman was informed that her husband had been killed instead?
No.
Were you there for that notification?
I was not.
You came after that time?
Correct.
Before you arrived at the hospital sometime around 11 o'clock a.m., you weren't in the possession of Andrea Sneiderman's phone, right?
Correct.
Okay, so when the Dunwoody Prep Daycare called her at... Thank you. When Dunwoody Prep called her at approximately 9:25 a.m., that wasn't you who answered that call, that was Andrea, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't have her phone at 10:36 a.m. when she called Dawn Sneiderman, right? That wasn't you placing that call?
It was not.
Okay. And all the calls to Henny Newman in between those two phone calls from the Dunwoody Prep Daycare Center and to Dawn Sneiderman, you didn't place those calls to Henny Newman, right?
I did not.
You would have no reason to do that.
Nope.
Okay. So you couldn't have had Andrea's phone at any time prior to 11 a.m., is that right?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't text her friend saying, my husband's been shot. You didn't do that?
No.
You didn't do that? Okay. And while you had Andrea's phone at the hospital, you said you didn't delete any text messages. You wouldn't have done that, right?
Not knowingly.
Do you accidentally delete text messages?
That day was so crazy. I was just trying to make phone calls for Andrea.
You would agree with me, right? It would be tremendously intrusive to delete a text message off a friend's telephone without letting her know about that. I mean,
Correct.
You wouldn't.
I would never, no.
All right, thank you, Ms. Litman.
Mr. Morgan, any redirect?
Yeah, Your Honor, a couple of follow-up questions.
You may, ask as many as you wish.
Thank you, Judge.
When you were cut off by the prosecutor, you were about to say you were aware of the shooting prior to Andrea calling you, is that
Correct.
okay? And where did you get that information from?
From a coworker who pulled me into her office to tell me that there was a shooting at Dunwoody Prep.
I'm going to sustain that objection. Ladies and gentlemen, disregard that last response. Next question.
Okay. Going back. Who was the first person that you learned about the shooting from?
A coworker.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any recross? Floor is may Ms. Litman be released and excused from her subpoena. Any objection, Mr. Morgan?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. You're free to go. Have a good day. Drive safely.
I will.
Call your next witness.
Defense calls Joanne Powers, Your Honor.
All right. Come on up, young lady. Follow the instructions of Deputy Garrett.
Turn around, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you shall give this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may go ahead and be seated. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Joanne Powers, Joannepowers.
Ms. Powers, do you know the defendant in this case, Andrea Sneiderman?
I do.
And how do you know her?
My husband met Rusty through a business associate many years ago, and I was introduced to Rusty and then to Andrea through Rusty.
Do you see her in the courtroom today?
I do.
And what is she wearing, please, Ms. Powers?
She's wearing a aqua top.
And please let the record reflect that Ms. Powers has identified the defendant, Andrea Sneiderman.
The record may so reflect.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Powers, how would you describe your relationship with Ms. Sneiderman?
I think Andrea and I have an extremely close relationship. In the beginning, it was more casual, but over time it became more and more close.
Did you have an occasion to observe her relationship with her husband?
Many times.
And what types of occasions was that, Mrs. Powers?
Well, initially, the four of us, Rusty and Andrea and Pete and I, would go out to dinner, and after some occasions of doing that, they invited us to their home. They came to our home, and we also went to their lake house and spent the weekend there with them.
And how would you describe their relationship based on your own observations?
They had a wonderful, loving, warm relationship. It was an incredible relationship. They very much worked together.
Did you have an occasion to see Andrea and her parents on December 28, 2010?
I did.
And where was that, ma'am?
It was in North Palm Beach.
And at that time, did you know a man named Hemi Newman?
No, I did not.
Okay. Was there a discussion about Andrea's files at that time?
There was. Andrea and her parents and her two children came over for lunch, and we were sitting, the children weren't right there at the table with us, but we were sitting around the table, and Andrea told us that
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay?
Mr. Morgan?
Okay. Without going into what Andrea told
Stand
you,
objection.
was there a discussion about her boss?
there was.
Okay. And after that discussion, did Mrs. Greenberg, Bonnie Greenberg, offer any advice to Andrea at that time?
She said she absolutely did not want Andrea to call the Dunwoody police because she was very scared that he might be in the area and might harm Andrea and her children.
And you distinctly recall that conversation on December 20th?
Without a doubt.
And who made that comment, ma'am?
Bonnie Greenberg made the comment.
No further questions, Judge.
Whose witness is this, Ms. Cross? You
It's
may
mine,
cross-examine if you wish.
Ms. Powers, you described your relationship with the defendant as extremely close. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and you've talked about the times that you saw the defendant and Rusty Sneiderman together, right?
Yes.
And you were not able to discern any tension in their marriage, is that right?
Not at all.
Okay. So the defendant didn't confide in you about the tension that was in her marriage during the spring, summer, and fall of 2010, is that right?
She did not tell me about any tension.
All right. And she didn't tell you that she had betrayed Rusty. That's not something that you all had talked about, right?
No.
Did she talk to you about anything that she had to repent for the rest of her life? Were those conversations that you had?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Powers.
Mr. Morgan, any redirect?
No, Your Honor, may this witness be excused?
Any objection from the state?
No, sir.
Ms. Powers, you're free to go. Have a good day. Drive safely. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes, yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes, come on up, lawyers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before the next witness, I'm going to give you a brief stretch break in the jury room, and it's going to be in the neighborhood of 8 minutes, okay? Deputy, 8 minutes? All right.